Once upon a time, around 4 years ago, there was this boy named Marcus. But this boy had a problem. There was this other boy, rather rude boy, a mean boy, who always played tricks on Marcus. Day in, day out, another trick, another painful memory. A stolen pencil, a knocked down bag, a moved chair. Little things. Nothing too outrageous. But it kept going. Over and over and over. Throughout the entire school year. And this boy, Marcus, didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to say anything. Just hoped that the problem would go away on itself. But months passed and nothing changed. And the boy's frustration only grew. Until one day, the other boy did something and it didn't even register in Marcus's brain. But the boy did it. And Marcus snapped. Marcus, in a rage, grabbed a chair and started beating the boy. Over and over and over until the other boy could do nothing but cry. Marcus stopped and realized what he did, but it was too late. The other boy had cried and was in pain. The worst part was that the boy, Marcus, didn't get any retribution. Nothing to atone for his sin, because that day they had a sub who did not care. This, as you may have realized by now, is a story about me. And we're going to segue that into our thematic topic of this video. Also, welcome back to Pac-Man. I assume this is going to come out like 3 days after the last one, because that's how I do these things. But we're going to be talking about anger. And, yeah, my thoughts on it. That story is just the worst story. It's my biggest regret, honestly. I don't think of myself as a violent guy, but I kind of am. It's kind of... Anyway, don't expect anything too philosophical from me, but let's define anger, shall we? According to the Google Dictionary, anger is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. Some of the synonyms are vexation, exasperation, irritation, indignation, pique. Huh. Rage, resentment, wrath, outrage, and ill temper. All right. And I don't know. As you might be, just as I am, a little curious on why anger actually happens. Why do we get angry? I'm actually going to go look that up. Give me a moment. Alright, top result from mayoclinic.org. Anger is a natural response to perceived threats. It causes your body to release adrenaline, your muscles to tighten, and your heart rate and blood pressure to increase. Your senses might feel more acute, and your face and hands flushed. However, anger becomes a problem only when you don't manage it in a healthy way. Okay, thank you, Mayo Clinic. So it is, in essence, just a fight or flight response mechanism. So I guess that's kind of why we get angry even at smaller stuff. Like I said, I got angry at really small stuff like a stolen pencil or whatever. But in the end, that kind of feels like a threat. I feel threatened. So, because, you know, why would you do that? Mean, rude. Why stop at stealing pencils? So that's why we get angry. And, you know, anger obviously isn't a good thing. It can result in all sorts of unhealthy things, as the website mayoclinic.org so helpfully described. Just a few things off the top of my head. It can make you in a blind rage, beat someone up. It can make you say things that you don't necessarily mean. It can really just generally do a lot of harm to people. And not only other people, but yourself ultimately. Because when you hurt others, you lose something very valuable from them. You lose their trust. You lose their kinship with yourself. And that's obviously not good. And ever since then, ever since I so rudely beat up that man, that upstanding gentleman, I've tried to find ways to help me not become so angry at little small things like that. And I'd like to share a couple of them with y'all, if you don't mind. Actually, the first thing I'm going to mention is something that was brought up when it was brought up by a POI of mine while we were talking about this pretty much this exact topic. And she said that she turns her anger into laughter. I don't fully understand how you can do that, but I get the same idea. We'll get to that later, why I understand. But yeah, she said she turns it into laughter, which in a way makes sense, but I don't know how you can turn a negative emotion into a positive emotion, if you know what I mean. But if that works for you, go ahead and do that. I will not stop you. That is a wonderful thing. And like the idea of turning something negative into something positive is amazing, though I can't do that. It's not something that works for me. And maybe it's more like, I don't know, you try to switch your perspective on the things, and you see it more as funny instead of angering, resenting. What's the word I'm looking for? Irritating. That'll work. Yeah, just a little perspective switch. Instead of like, oh man, this guy is repeating over and over, get him. Yeah, exactly. I'm laughing at that, which I mean, honestly, is kind of funny. But like, if it's repeating over and over and over, then you're gonna be like, ew, stop. I'm getting pretty mad at you. But turn it a little perspective, and then you find it funny because he's just repeating the same thing over again. It's whack. Oh dang, I'm at the 10-minute mark. I will stop here. Moving on to another thing that I've actually found that really helps is just removing yourself from whatever situation that's making you angry. Now, this doesn't always work because there are sometimes requirements for you to be in that area. Like at a job, you kind of have to stay at doing your job, even if there's an annoying coworker there. But for a lot of things, especially video games, I found if you just stop, take a break, get out of there, get out of that frustrating situation, then you can calm yourself down and not feel so angry, and you can even get right back into it afterwards, after you're not as angry. And sometimes you can even do better at whatever you're doing. You can be better because you're not being blinded by your rage. What a commonality throughout this video. Blinding rage. But yeah, I found that removing yourself from situations really helps. It just helps you take a moment to not think about what's making you angry and think about the other things. Get your mind off of the anger and not be in that environment that's making you angry, which I find helpful. Another thing that I've actually found out from just general research is that one of the things that this may seem a little counterintuitive, but you do not want to get your anger out in other means, like punching bags or like just other random aggressions, like screaming into a pillow. That is a unhealthy way to deal with anger, because it doesn't actually lets your anger out as you might think it does. It only like seeps it more into you, because the aggression that you're showing aggression towards other thing, which is only heightening your anger towards that thing. There's more adrenaline poking through you, as the website might have mentioned, poking through you, making you, it's continuing your anger by being like a giant anger releasing thing. Yeah, no, I'm not like a good speaker or anything, but that is not a thing you should do, is let out your anger. The best thing you can do is just take a quiet moment of reflection. Maybe not the best thing you can do, but it's at least a better thing to do than letting your anger out, because, as I've said, it only continues your anger. It only keeps it going. And one other thing that I'll tell you about, which is the way that I try to deal with my anger, which kind of goes in hand with my POI's perspective of turning it into laughter. I turn it into sadness, which interestingly, she did not seem to be too enthralled by that idea. She seemed to think it was a bad idea to turn a negative emotion into a negative emotion, but as I said earlier, I can't really do that. I can't really turn a negative emotion into a positive one. So I choose, the lesser of two evils, as you say. I choose sadness over anger, because I find it easier to slip into a negative emotion from a negative emotion, as we talked about. That's sort of what we said when we were talking. But yeah, I figure turning it into sadness is a much better way to actually deal with the situation, because anger is destructive. Sadness is not as destructive. You sort of, it just kind of shuts you down, right? So you can't hurt anyone. You can't hurt people. You just kind of sit there thinking about yourself, which in my eyes is better than punchy punch other person. Yeah, honestly, it's a lot better of an idea in my mind. There's no target to your anger except maybe yourself, or there's no target for your sadness except yourself. There may be reasons other than yourself why you're sad, but it's not going to be targeted towards it. You're sad for yourself. You're not angry for yourself. Usually, you're angry at something, but you're always sad at yourself. So the only person you can hurt while you're sad is maybe yourself. So, and like she said earlier, it doesn't seem like the most healthy way to deal with it, but for me, it's one that works. And I have not gotten angry even at video games in quite some time. There was, I feel like there's a time on this channel where I got pretty angry, but I can't remember what it was. There was one time, maybe Ninja Gaiden, maybe it was that. I don't know, but there was one time where I got pretty frustrated. Yeah, but anyway, wow, I am almost out of time. Time is flying by. I wanted to get one other thing done this video, but maybe I'll just end it off with the anger. Final thoughts on anger. It's bad. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate myself when I'm angry. I hate people when they're angry. It's not a high place to be. After you're angry, you recognize your mistake. You feel terrible. You just, it's awful. Anger is the worst. And I get that it's a fight or flight mechanism, as I did a little research earlier this video. But I wish anger wasn't so visceral, I guess. I wish it wasn't so out there. Maybe if it were more like sadness, in my opinion, it would be better, where you could get angry, but not at people. You could just, be angry, but not destructive, not hurtful. Yeah, I would prefer it to be a lot less a lot more subdued. But hey, that's just the way life is. You got to deal with it. And obviously, there are some ways you can deal with it. Maybe do your own research, figure out what works best for you. For me, it was removing myself from situations that make me angry, and also the turning my anger into sadness. And my POI's best way was to turn it into laughter, which works for her, so, you know, not complaining. And also remember not to let out your aggression through other means, because that only deepens your anger, it only furthers it, and we don't want anger. We don't want it. Or at least, I don't. I mean, maybe anger can be important in some cases, but at the very least in my eyes, the majority of cases you don't want to be angry. 99% of the time, anger is not a fun thing to deal with. So I don't like it. I was actually going to talk a little bit about sadness, too, but I've got a minute and a half before this thing cuts me off. So I guess not, but I kind of hit the biggest points whenever I was talking about turning my anger into sadness. So I guess I don't really need to say it, but yeah, that's it. Anger. Don't like it. That's my opinion on it. Road rage is a thing, which I apparently get, by the way. It's just so frustrating driving. And, like, I wish I didn't have to drive ever, because it makes me irritated. It makes me irate. Not iro, but irate. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much my thoughts on anger. You're entitled to your own opinion. I'm not saying this is the only way to think about it. Obviously. I mean, I don't know why you would take it that way. But, yeah. Like this series basically is just an excuse for me to talk about things that I want to talk about. So I got to talk about this, and, you know, I feel good. Letting it all out. But not in an angry way, because that's bad. Alright. I guess I'll see you sometime in the future. Maybe in another Pac-Man video. Probably in another Pac-Man video, actually. But, oh, before I forget, show up how many levels of Pac-Man we've gotten through. Awesome. Perfect. Excellent. I don't actually know where we are, because I'm recording this beforehand. But, yeah. I'll see you next time. Bye!